The war in the Persian Gulf would be the first test after the Cold War of the American promise of a new world order.
You might think, why do you care? What's the point? What's the deal? Who cares? Well, because what has happened is a war on America. This is not a war on terrorism.
For the American military, this would be a war fought on two fronts, against an Iraqi army entrenched in the desert, and against the entrenched ghosts of an old war.
The Persian Gulf War didn't last for 6 weeks. It lasted for 20 years.
This is the story of what happened when America confronted Saddam Hussein and itself in the Arabian desert.
If Saddam Hussein, a two-bit tyrant who sits on 17 million people and possesses a gross national product of $40 billion, proves to be more patient than the United States, the world's most affluent and powerful nation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Admiral Crowell. These are two of the most powerful.
Terminator was just being systematic.
Well, let's go back to one other thing.
Look, you have heard enough.
Beginning, and it's a war on America today. You have people at the top that are coming after you. They're coming after your rights. They're coming after your way of life, and they're coming after your money.
Am I talking to you?
Because I
Who is
don't-
an authority here?
Please, listen.
Shut up! You still don't get it, do you?
We must be more vigilant. We must accept restrictions on freedoms that we have been reluctant to accept up to now. But as I say, it's really...
Am I talking to you?
Because I
Who is
don't-
an authority here?
Please,
Shut up! You still don't get it, do you?
We will die for Texaco. That really didn't resonate. And then if you recall, Jim Baker got up there and said, it's about jobs, jobs, jobs.
If you want to sum it up in one word, it's jobs.
The American people said, what's this all about?
If you want to sum it up in one word, it's jobs.
The American people said, what's this all about?
If you want to sum it up in one word, it's jobs.
The American people said, what's this all about?
Into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
If you want to sum it up in one word, it's jobs.
The American people said, what's this all about? If Saddam Hussein, a two-bit tyrant who sits on 17 million people and possesses a gross national product of $40 billion, proves to be more patient than the United States, the world's most affluent and powerful nation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country. Into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
And it's a war on America today. You have people at the top that are coming after you. They're coming after your way of life, and they're coming after your money. They're coming after your business totalitarian laws that are superseding our laws.
In the Gulf, 1,700 coalition aircraft now prepared to attack. They faced modern Iraqi fighters, many built by the French and Soviets, hundreds of missile batteries, and thousands of anti-aircraft guns.
Technology had finally caught up with the vision that we'd always had of how to apply a strategic air campaign.
Imagine Iraq like a human body. What happens if you take away somebody's ability to think, somebody's ability to communicate with the rest of the body? What happens if you sever their spinal cord? They can't function, right?
Before the planes could attack, task Force Normandy would fire the first shots of the war. Its Apache gunships had been training for months. As the artillery barrage lifted, 7 Corps surged across the desert. This was the army that had been stationed in Europe to fight World War III. Now, the end of the Cold War, Iraq. The generals had expected 2 days of fighting to breach the Iraqi frontline defenses, followed by 6 days of massive tank battles with the Republican Guard. Meanwhile, inside Kuwait on the second day, the Marines pushed on towards Kuwait City. That night, 7 Corps routed an entire division of the Republican Guard. The other 5 Republican Guard divisions started a desperate retreat. 22 hours after crossing into Kuwait, the U.S. Marines were on the outskirts of Kuwait City. Destroyed Iraqi tanks lined the road.
He asked me straight out, "Do you think that the Allies will come as far as Baghdad?" He was quite desperate and frightened.
Just hours before the ceasefire went into effect, the British Army charged out of the desert towards the road running from Kuwait City north to Iraq.
As we pulled over the top of the ridge, in front of us was the highway. We were, and when I detested being there, and for 3 days that we actually sat on the highway, I hated it, and it enveloped me more and more and more.
Kuwait is liberated. Iraq's army is defeated. Our military objectives are met.
No doubt we've lost some firefighters and police officers.
Do you know anything about the cause of the explosions that brought the 2 buildings down yet? Was it caused by the planes or by something else?
We
believe
that it was caused by the after effects of the planes hitting the buildings. We don't know of an additional explosion.
Okay, one more time. Why did he need a talking point to answer the question about explosions that brought the buildings down? What was the reason? You know, I'm not sure. It seems like I see, because the terrorists did it. That's right. The terrorists. It's the terrorists. I got you.
The difficulty is, of course, with terrorism you're fighting phantoms.
Mm-hmm. Is it of such a magnitude?
No one can go in to get the people out. There's small explosions still going on.
2 days after the ceasefire, a brigade of Republican Guards returning to Iraq fired upon the 24th Infantry Division. The Americans replied with overwhelming firepower. 7 months after Iraqi forces marched into Kuwait, the last battle had been fought.
On the question of going to Baghdad, if you remember the Vietnam War, we had no international legitimacy for what we did. As a result, we, first of all, lost the battle in world public opinion. Eventually, we lost the battle at home. In the Gulf War, we had great international legitimacy in the form of 8 United Nations resolutions, every one of which said, kick Iraq out of Kuwait. Did not say one word about going, conquering the whole country and hanging Saddam Hussein. That's point number 1. Point number 2, had we gone on to Baghdad, I don't believe the French would have gone, and I'm quite sure that the Arab coalition would not have gone. The coalition would have ruptured, and the only people that would have gone would have been the United Kingdom and the United States of America. And oh, by the way, I think we'd still be there. We'd be like a dinosaur in a tar pit. We could not have gotten out, and we'd still be the occupying power, and we'd be paying 100% of all the costs to administer of Iraq.